Hi, my name's Andrea Bomarito, and in this video we are going to talk about hooping a garment so that we can get it ready for embroidery. First of all, let's talk about the components of a hoop. A hoop will hold the garment in place so that while the machine is embroidering, it can move properly and lay down the stitches. And this is our 15 centimeter hoop. This is an allied gridlock hoop, which is really nice. It does have a nice grid on either side of the hoop as well as on the interior, which can actually help us quite a bit with lining up the garment with the center of the design. But first, what we need to look at with the hoop is that where the brackets are, making sure that we have the correct configuration on our machine. And in another video, we did show you how to move the arms in and out. And in this hoop, we did need the arms on the inside for the 400 field sprint machine. The hoop has two components to it. It has a back as well as the top. The back will go behind the fabric and the top will go on top of the fabric. With the hoop, there is a tensioning spring here. And what's nice on this hoop, you do have a T and an L with the up and down arrow key, meaning that if you twist the screw up, it will tighten. If you move the screw down, it will loosen that tension. So it is important to understand the tension of the hoop because different materials are going to be at different tensions because of the fabric itself. So typically, when hooping, we have to find that right tension for that correct garment. Not only do we have to consider the hoop, but we also have to consider the other ingredients that are involved when doing embroidery. One of the things that we have to consider and have to figure out is the correct backing or the correct stabilizer that you need to use for your garment. Stabilizer / backing can come in many different types. Tearaway, cutaway, there's even topping that's water soluble. There's even colored backings such as black and white to match your garment. Different materials can call for the different backings. So it's important to know and understand your design as well as the garment that you're going to be stitching on as to what backing you're going to use. Backing can, again, come in many different styles, but also pre-cut backing versus rolls of backing that we see here, and even cap backing. So what I have done is I've actually taken a piece of cutaway backing and cut it to just bigger than my actual hoop. So we don't want to take too much backing and waste too much backing when we're embroidering. So that's why, but we want to make sure that it is going to cover the entire hoop so I don't miss any when I hoop the backing along with the garment itself. So not only do we need our backing and making sure that we have the backing cut in the correct size, but the other things that we need that are important for hooping are, of course, the worksheet. The worksheet here, this is our design. It's going to tell us where the center point or the origin point is of the design. That's really where we need to line up the garment along with the hoop to make sure we have the correct placement. So on my printout here, I do see that that center point of the design or the origin point. The origin point can be at different points of the design, maybe bottom center, so on and so forth, but the majority of our designs are going to have a center point as the origin point, center of the whole design. So, and actually before I set that back down, this is also very helpful and needed for when we actually do the embroidery so that we can make sure we have the right threads and the right order for our design. The other thing that we need, of course, is going to be the garment itself. Now, the garment, you have several different garment choices that you can use. Here we're going to show a t-shirt, and with the t-shirt, in order to measure out where that center point needs to be, we can just use a standard ruler. There's also some other nice tools out there that are L-shaped rulers and things like that, but you can use just a standard ruler if you'd like. The last part that I really like to use when I am hooping, conventionally, is either a fabric marker that can wash away, or a piece of chalk, something that can wash away on the garment. Or what I have here is I have a little sticker with a crosshair on it to, when I put it on the material, it will show me where I need to line up that needle so that when I do embroider, it's going to embroider in that correct spot. So now that I have all my components for hooping, the next thing I need to do is take the garment and measure where the center point needs to be, or the origin point of the design needs to be, so that I can properly hoop it. I'm going to go ahead and take my pieces of the hoop and the backing, and I'll go ahead and take my garment. We'll go ahead and lay this out nice and straight on my table. I do need my ruler. There's some really nice tools out there that you can use, L-shaped rulers and things like that. Typically when we do measure for a left chest, it's 7 to 9 inches down from where the shoulder seam will meet the collar seam. And then depending upon, again, how big your how big your garment is, small, medium, large, extra large, up to, whatever size, measuring from the center. If you do have a placket, you'll measure over, and it can be anywhere from 3.5 to 5 inches. Again, it all depends on the size of your garment and where you need to place that design. So here we're going to go ahead and take our ruler, measure that correct place, and then take our little sticker and put that down where we need the starting point, or where we need the machine to start. So in getting the correct placement, I do have to measure. I do want to see with my worksheet where I want that to sit. And like I said before, with a left chest logo, we went 7 to 9 inches down, and maybe 3 to 5 inches over from the center of our garment, or for the front center of our garment. With this design, it is rather small. I am going to measure from the center of the front of the shirt, which I've made a nice little fold line. I just folded my garment in half and made a little fold line. I'm going to go over about 4.5 inches. This is an extra large. I'm going to place my little sticker down at 4.5, and then I'm going to go ahead and take the measurement from the shoulder seam and try and line it up with that. And I'm going to go about 8.5 inches down. So I need to now take my little center point, move that up, and if I look here, I've now marked the center of where I want that design to fit. With your worksheets, you can also print multiple of these and maybe just cut it out so where you can actually see it, and pin it to the fabric itself. It's really helpful to do that. So now I do have it, my center point, and next step is to actually take the backing and the hoop and to hoop our garment. After measuring and marking our center point of the design onto our garment, we are now going to take the bottom part of the hoop. We'll go ahead and take this, and I need to put it behind the front part of the shirt. It's easy to kind of go through the shirt collar here, and we'll go ahead and place it in the back here. In addition, we do need that backing, so I'm going to take the backing, go ahead and go through the collar as well, and we can kind of see and feel where that back of the hoop is and kind of get that center with our center point here. I do need to make sure that the backing is going to encompass that hoop in the back there, because we don't want to have any backing falling off or not completely getting into that hoop. We will now take the front of the hoop and place that down. It will kind of sandwich right into the back of the hoop. If I do need to move it, I can certainly move it. I have these grid lines that I can line up, making sure my hoop is nice and straight, making sure my fabric is nice and no wrinkles or anything like that. Once I do have that in place, I'm making sure everything is good for this. I'll go ahead and hoop by pushing down, sandwiching that material into the hoop, making sure everything is lined up properly, and now I am ready to go to the machine. If the hoop needs more tension or less tension, remember that we do have the tensioning spring on the back part, and I'll go ahead and show that to you here, that if we do need to tighten or loosen it, we can. And there is also a notch here if you do want to take a screwdriver and tighten it as well. We want to make sure that the fabric is nice and taut, but not too tight and not too loose, as this can affect the quality of our stitching. So we now have the hooped garment and we want to put it on the machine, but before we put it on the machine, I'd like to show you a few things just to make sure that you have done before you put this onto the machine. First thing is on the back of the hoop. Here we see that all of our backing is completely encompassed, and also we want to make sure that that hoop ring is not falling off a little bit. It's nice, and actually there's even a little bit of a step here, a little bit of an indentation here. We want to make sure of that so that nothing falls apart, making sure that it's nice and taut before we start stitching. So to put it on, first of all, we want to make sure that we are going to fit the garment around the tubular arm. I am going to take this collar, open up the collar, and make sure it goes around that tubular arm. We also need to take those brackets and slide them into the clips here, making sure that they fall into the clips as well as the pins. So I go ahead and put that in, making sure that, again, that we're not going to stitch the top to the bottom, and making sure that that garment is through the tubular arm, making sure that our pins are nice and secure, and now we're actually ready to start the embroidery. So that's actually in another chapter, so please visit our other video for how to start your actual embroidery.